Alright. I was counting on the last draft being my only draft of Scars block, but since we won and we have some packs lying around now, yeah, I think we just have to. I think we just have to try again. Little bonus draft action. Well, I see a bunch of cards that I really love. This pack is busted. Just by the way, I see a ton of great cards in this pack. So this guy is pretty much unbeatable if you have any kind of infect presence at all and he sticks around. He's just going to generate so much value that he's insane. What can you say? And there's also Enslave, which is also pretty good. So there's Pith Driller, Thopter, Legionnaire. Man, I like the Swarm Lord. I really don't like playing Infect. I kind of feel like I'd rather have Enslave. It's close. I just know that Enslave is going to beat me. But I'll take the Swarm Lord. I'll mix it up a little bit. And there's a card that will wreck our potential Infect Brew. Although we're not really dedicated Infect. Like, I don't think we have to be. This guy's just really good value. If you hit them even once, it's obviously absurd. We did just pass an Enslave, so we want to stay away from black. It looks like there's no black cards in this pack, though, which is good. We could take the Razor Swine, and that would give us 2 quality Infect cards that are also good in just non-Infect type decks. We could take the Blinding Soul Eater or the Pristine Talisman and stay colorless. There's a lot of options in this pack. I also really, really like Spire Monitor. I'm going to go ahead and admit that I don't really know what to take here. I feel like Blinding Soul Eater is not truly colorless because it's only going to be good if we're in white, although I could be wrong. I think I'm going to take the Razor Swine and see how that goes. Because then we can go Infect, or we can go like a controlling deck, and both of these will be good. So here we have little mini Skin Render, and that's also the +2/+0 is extremely relevant with Infect creatures, so I think we're going to be happy to have that guy on our team. There's also Shatter, or Glissa Scorn, which is fine. I hate passing Glissa Scorn because it's kind of a cruddy signal. But I don't think we can pass the Tormentor Exarch. This pack must have been very good as well. But I think we're just going to take the Tormentor Exarch. Again, it's fine. It leaves us open. Here's another Razor Swine, which I think is going to be key for us if we're going to be in this archetype. So far, we've picked 2 Infect creatures and a utility guy. I still think we're fine to go just like generic red-green dinos because these cards are fine on defense, and this guy's just bonkers on his own. You don't actually have to infect anybody. We will now have passed 2 Spire Monitors, which is something to remember if we play against a blue deck. So here we have a couple options. Fresh Meat is okay. It's hard to get value out of it without a little bit of setup because it's only creatures put into your graveyard, so it's not like Viridian Revel where you can set them up to trade a bunch and then just, kind of wreck them. We could take the Ogre Menial. It'll probably be pretty decent in our deck. Sorting by cost, we've got, a couple of early drops, a couple of late drops, and it's just fine as a 0/4. I think either one is better than the Deathhood Cobra. And so, since Fresh Meat is a little more awkward to use, even though I'm not excited about 5th picking it, I'm going to just take the Ogre Menial. Here we have a lot of red and green cards, and we have a Mythic Rare that is completely unplayable. But it is worth a ticket, so keep that in mind. There actually really isn't much here for us. We could take the Volshock Refugee, and he's fine as like a 3/2. There really just isn't a whole lot going on in this pack for us at all. I don't know. It's very questionable whether this would even make our deck. But I think that it's more key that we don't pass anything playable in red if we can help it than it is that we get a ticket for the Core Augur. So we will reluctantly pass on the goodies. And here we'll just take a really overcosted Shatter because I think it's better than Glistener Elf. We're not building the kind of Infect deck where Glistener Elf is really going to shine, and there's not really a whole lot more for us here, so we'll just take the Victorious Destruction. Here is a good sign with Leeching Bite still being here, because Leeching Bite is very good. It's good in Infect, because the +1/+1 is very relevant. It's also good as a removal spell in a controlling type deck, and it's just an all-around good card. Here we don't have a whole lot going on. In fact, we're seeing a lot of like cards. Like we've seen this row of commons a lot. There's really not much for us here. The Hystrix can be decent against certain decks, I suppose. The Priest of Urabrask is an alright tempo play. We do have a lot of 3-drops that we can go ahead and get in there with. I'm actually going to take the early drop more so than the late drop, because I think in red and green we'll have the opportunities to take guys like this that are just better than the 3/6. We could take a Hulk here. We're in the color of Shatters, and I just don't know if I would play 2 Victorious Destructions, but I really don't know if I would play a Phyrexian Hulk with all the dinos we're going to have the opportunity to get. And I think taking this, we might play 1 main and then just side the second one in if our opponents have like a Batterskull or a Steel Hellkite or something. This is a good sign because although the Glissa's Scorn didn't wheel, both of the other green cards did. I mean, obviously none of them are that great, but this guy's fine, and he's probably going to make our deck because we have like a sort of Infect deck. And now we'll get the Glistener Elves. Easy peasy. I actually don't think I own one of these, so I'll just grab it. Geosurge for signaling purposes. I don't know how well we did that pack because I don't usually draft decks like this, and this is definitely not the kind of archetype I want to be in, especially like with a substantial infect theme. But I mean, we'll just see where it goes. So here we have a bad rare, but we also have a foil rare that is also bad. And in fact, this whole pack is terrible except for Flesh Eater Imp. I don't think we can take the Flesh Eater Imp. We're definitely not going to get any black passed to us after we shipped that Enslave. And we didn't see a whole lot of black going anyway. So maybe the person who got the Enslave won't even bother to play it. We do have a pretty creature-heavy deck. In that regard, Lead the Stampede is kind of like a divination where you have to reveal the cards. Obviously, we don't know what the final component of our deck is going to look like. We could take the Juggernaut. I just don't think we're going to get the kind of Infect cards that we need to really support it. We do have 2 Razor Swines and an Ogre Menial and a Swarm Lord already, and this Mycosynth Fiend is okay. It's close, but I'm going to take the Lead the Stampede because it's more generic and is going to really make our deck better no matter what we're playing. Here we have the option of taking Lumingrid Gargoyle, which is a big flyer, but is also vulnerable to just about any sort of removal, artifact, or creature. We can take Ogre Resistor. He's a fine man, fits our curve pretty well, is pretty decent body. I think we definitely take Ogre Resistor before we took the Malira's Keepers. And it really comes down to whether we want the Ogre Resistor or the Lumingrid Gargoyle. If we haven't seen a Blight Widow at this point, then it's unlikely that we'll get one, which means our deck is going to be pretty soft to flyers. That said, I don't know how much a 6-drop flyer helps us, but I think Ogre Resistor is much more likely to... we're going to have more opportunities to get a card like Ogre Resistor than we are to get a 6-drop with flying, especially in these colors, so we're going to grab the Gargoyle here. And this pick is basically either Rotwolf, which is another value Infect creature, and at this point we have a lot of value Infect creatures, enough to the point where we might actually be a legitimate Infect deck. But I think we're just going to take the Burn the Impure. Again, it's like the last pick where both cards are fine, but I think this card's going to be a little bit harder to get. And Burn the Pure is just insane, so uh, maybe a little more explanation than was necessary. And here we have Spiraling Duelist and Viridian Emissary and Plague Mirror, which are all, I mean, Spiraling Duelist is terrible, but, I mean, in our colors. We have Viridian Emissary and Plague Mirror, but I actually think the Green Sun Zenith is going to be better. It gives us effectively a second copy of this, and if we can get some decent single